Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Software. Today I'm going to be doing a disassembly on this East Crane EC-909 LR OBR DMR. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, because those interactions help me get seen by the YouTube algorithms. That helps the channel grow. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, the link down in the description will take you to my socials, including my Discord. Stop by and say hello. And if you want to support the channel at the highest level, the join button is down below. That will take you to channel memberships, 99p a month, totally optional, really appreciated. Custom videos, your own giveaways, a little bit of a say in the channel and how it's run. Again, optional, but massively appreciated if you did do that. So I am back then following the unboxing where I'm going to do a disassembly of this ENC EC-909 DMR. Part of which I'm not going to cover here because we sort of did it in the unboxing, which is linked down below. The rest we're going to get on with now. So we did the front end, we talked about the muzzle brake as well, so we're going to get straight into the rest of it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the stock. So I'm going to take the back plate off just to make sure that the battery connector is not in anywhere where I can tug at it too hard as I'm taking the stock off. All I did there was just collapse the lever to extend it, and then I'm going to pull down, and there we go. That comes out of the way. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this wiring out of the way, and I'm going to have a look down the stock tube. There is a Phillips head in there, which we're going to worry about in a few minutes. Next thing I want is quite a small, there we go, just happens to be in there, a T6. We're going to try a T6 in this hole here, this front socket. That's too small. Let's go up. What have we got here? A T8. T8 is too big. Of course it is. Oh my lord, Pheas, you are having a nightmare today. It's not actually a pin, a threaded screw at all. It is just a pin. My lord, that is appalling. I can't believe I didn't realise. So I'm just going to pull that pin all the way through, and the body has already started separating from me, which is a good thing. So I'm just going to take that out. There's our gearbox there. I'm just going to have a quick look here. So we'll take the barrel assembly out. Not a mega long barrel. It is just a traditional AR style charging handle in there. Put that down. So our barrel then, and it is down to hop. To be fair, to put the hop fully on, there is an awful lot of adjustment in that. It did take a while to get it to hop 2s, and it seems to be partially hopping. I do wonder if it was like the JGs tend to have, that you get a little bit of grease in there that just sort of causes issues and then it starts hopping, because I did suddenly find that it was over hopping and then had to sort of wind it back off again to get a more normal level of hop, but the range was impressive. So come back to the stock then. At the lower, I'm going to get my long Phillips head screwdriver to get in there, because it just makes my life easier. So I'm back with my long Phillips head. It doesn't need to be this long. I am being a bit special with this. It just makes my life easier to get that Phillips head down there. And there we go. Now it'd be interesting to see what kind of quick change system is in here, if I can access it now from just doing this. I'm going to tip that way. So there is our bolt and screw like that. That's the sort of setup it needs to be. There is a hole underneath that, should sit at the bottom here, allowing the wiring to come through. I'm just going to gently fold them a little bit straighter and wiggle this off. There we go. Careful not to pull anything. And there is our, wow, okay, quick change system. So that is just finger tightened. Okay, so that was in the way. Is that threaded? That is not threaded. I wondered if the screw was screwed into that. And then it is a flat head in there to get the spring guide out. So I'll just push it in a quarter turn and then wiggle it about. It is a star type, so there's not 2 lugs this time. it's for, and can't get it out at the minute, so I'm just going to leave it. I wonder if the body is in the way. Might just need a bit of working. At the minute it doesn't want to come out, so I'm going to leave it for now until I've got the gearbox lifted up and out. I'm going to take that little panel off there though, and that panel, it's got, on this one it's got number 16 there, that sits like that, so it should be indented this side and extruded a little bit going into the body. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the pistol grip off, so we need 2 Phillips heads on the bottom. So I've just got my thumb over the end there because the motor is sat on a spring and I don't want it to be pinging the base plate out of the way. And maybe lightly thread locked. The motor adjustment screw is thread locked. So I'm using a Phillips head 2, and that's getting in there much nicer than whatever that one was. Take that out. Now the 2 screws are different. So the front screw was that one. The back screw was pointed at the back. So just keep that in mind. And you can see there that it's coming up. So I'm just going to wiggle it about. And prefer these style of base plates because you don't have the little dodgy disc inside, just big and meaty. So I've got the red at the front, and the red wire is silver, but there's a red line on the wire, so you can tell it is, and they're both coming up the back of the pistol grip. So I'll lift the motor out. There is our stock motor, and again we're just going to switch. That's what I wanted. Extension, in fact, I'll tell you what, let's go for the long. So it's just a Phillips head screw, and we've got one in this bottom corner here and one in this top corner here. There's one. There we go. Just be careful not to catch the ends of the wire, the little spade connectors, and pull too hard because you'll pull them off, and then you've got the issue of trying to sort of get them back in. I'm going to have to remove that and that. How does that come out? So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the mag release. I'm just going to put my Phillips head in there. Again, it's a smart choice putting a Phillips head screw in there, just because some of them that come with these like needing an ultra tiny little what I call it, Allen key is just awful. So a spring on top, and then we just drop that out the other side, and there it is. Keep that together. Now there is a connector through to this. I can't see how that comes out, so we'll drop the back body pin out. So I'm just going to drop this pin out of this side. Just going to go off and tap that out. So pull that. It appears to be on a retaining clip, and then we've just got a trigger pin there, which I'm looking for the teeth, I'm guessing, at that side. So all I did there was I used a Torx head, a small Torx head screwdriver, and used it like a punch, just because not everybody always has those tools about, so you can make do with other things. And then I just hit the head of it with a bigger screwdriver to get the pin out. So the teeth of that pin were on this right hand side here. So now we should just lifting it up. So basically this bolt release bar here is still connected. I can't see. Oh, it lifts up with it. That was quite sensible. The trigger is stuck a little bit. There we go. So there we are. It comes up and out, and now I can just remove that easily. So that just sat inside the body, it just drops in with the gearbox at the same time, like that. So we'll re-demonstrate that when it's going back together. So flipping it over then, we have got it is basically just a version 2 but elongated, so you've got a longer cylinder and things like that. So generally speaking, you get better volume. Now we can do the spring, which I've done there. It's just a quarter turn, it pings straight out. There is our spring. Our spring guide then is bearing based, which as the spring compresses, it tries to turn. This helps it just relieve some of that pressure to keep it a little bit healthier. And obviously with it being metal, it's a lot more durable to the strains of it. There is a little Phillips head on this part here that I'm just going to remove now, just so we can get under this screw here. We've got a traditional M4 style selector plate, so should in theory accept traditional M4 style MOSFETs, so like your per run and that kind of thing. There is a little spring under there, which I'll demonstrate the spring when we're putting it back together. But that can stay there for now anyway. And then I'm going to change. So we're going to use, it looks like it's a Torx 8 is the bit of the day. So the 4 screws across the top are going to be identical, so I'm not going to worry too much about those because they're all the same. The gib screws coming around the bottom, however, look like they're going to be different. So those are all the same. Now across the bottom, I can see that we've got at least 2 different types of screws. So we've got one for the front one. Is that style? The second one, you can tell from the sort of holes that they're sat in that they are different. So this is more like a dome top one. Again, I completely forgot the name. Like that. And then the second and third, which is where the pistol grip sits, are the same as the first one. To be fair, you can't really go wrong with them because they will only sit properly into one sort of type of hole. I'm excited to see what's inside here though and how good it is. From what I can vaguely remember of the last time, I think they were pretty good inside the ENC stuff. And I was impressed. I think I was really impressed actually at the solidity of it. Right, so gearbox done. I'm just going to get my finger in the back there. I'm holding down the cylinder. I'm just going to pull up and off. So we have got bearings in there to help the gear set spin a little bit smoother and nicer. So it is just effectively the same as a normal AR inside. So that's our anti-reversal latch there. We've got our sector gear. The sector gear has got more teeth because our piston longer. We've got a metal nozzle and cylinder head. Let's lift that up and out of there. So there goes the spring. So the sector gear, there we go, has 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 19 teeth, is that right? Can I actually count without taking my socks off? $19 teeth on that sector gear to match with a significantly longer piston. So let's check the air compression on that. So it's unvented cylinder. So I'm just going to put my finger on the end. I'm just going to try and compress this in. I've got an aluminium piston head in there. I shouldn't be able to get the piston more than a little bit in there because the air... Oh yeah, that's good air compression. So we'll try it with that is a double O-ring nozzle as well, which is heartening. So I'm just going to put that on. Again, I'm going to try the thing. I expect some... Wow, that's almost as good as without the nozzle. That is excellent compression in there. I'm really, really happy with that. So we've then got a traditional M4 style trigger block in there and trigger and things. So it's compatible with all those sorts of repair and maintenance parts if you need them. So what we're going to do is rebuild this now. So we're going to hook this spring on this little hook here, and the other side is going to go on this front pin right here. So I'm going to hook it on there. I'm going to put it on the desk to do it because this isn't going to work otherwise. And then like that, and then I'm going to pull this whole assembly back said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make sure, there we go. There we go. And what I've done is I've just twisted the piston round. Twisted the piston round so that the teeth on the underside are sat in this groove here. I'm going to make sure that the teeth of the sector gear are not in the way of the piston, because we don't want that. It can cause issues with reassembly, and obviously that this delayer and a peg here that pull back the tappet plate, because what happens is as this gear turns, it pulls this plate pulls the nozzle back, that lets the BB in, the plate comes back forward just before the piston pings forward, it pushes it into the hot, then the piston comes forward, compresses the air out the front, and off your BB goes. So that's in there now. Next thing we do is the anti-reversal latch. It's got a little spring on it, so the spring sits on it just like that. It's well sort of oiled, greased in there. It's not much, there's just sort of like enough in the right sort of places to keep smooth operation. So I'm just going to sit it in, and it should be springing up like that. I'm just going to hold it, twist it with, and hold it with my thumb while I drop in. Oh, going too quick. No. There we go. Now, I'm going to put this gearbox down because this bit's a little bit more tricky, although not that tricky because there's no spring in it. So we're just going to bring the top half in. I'm going to go down at the front first and then leaning it back. And what I might need to do is I might need to set on something there. There we go. Just a little bit of wiggling. Sometimes the gears move a little bit, so you might just need to use something very small like that, a small Torx head, just to pull them into place. And what I'm looking for is that it's flush all around, which I am happy with that. So now then I can bring the screws back in and screw this all back shut. Again, remembering that the screws go, you've got like the dome headed one there and there. The other three are all the same, the other style. Make sure you go back until you get the click. It means it's dropped into its correct thread, so you're not going to, these should go down really nice and easy into their sort of threaded sections. If they're not, if you're having to really force it, other than when it's tightening down, there's something wrong, and you're basically doing the threads in. And last but not least, then we've got the top four ones. Bring the top four in. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the spring guide back in, and the spring, I'm just going to wiggle that in. You can see it's like a cross style front one, there's 4 lugs on there, so I'm just going to push it in and a quarter turn. There we go, and it should lock back, slightly protruded from the back of the gearbox, so we know it's in the right place. The next thing we're missing is this little lever here. So there is, on the back side of it, this little latch here, and that's going to sit into this gap with this little spring, which I now need to get out. Let's have a look. Let's try my little flat head. There we go. So just going to lift this up slightly. Be careful not to lose this little spring, as I'm probably about to do. Oh no, there we go. So I've lifted it up. It's sat up onto the top of the gearbox. What I'm going to do is that way. This is going to sit in this orientation like this. I'm going to put the little latch on top of that spring. I'm going to compress it down, and I'm checking that it bounces up and down like that, and then I'm going to put the screw back in quickly before it explodes out and I lose both parts. There we go. So that's in, and it's springing down nicely as it should do. Perfect. So next part then, I'm going to bring the receiver in. I'm going to put this underneath here, and that just clicks in like that underneath. I'm going to drop this into here. So you can see the back body pin there has got that retaining clip on it. I'm going to wiggle the wire in through the back there. I'm going to wiggle the motor wires in through there, and then I'm going to wiggle it backwards and forwards, getting the trigger in place, making sure the wire's not clipping anywhere. This is just going to drop it into there. There we go. So if I've done that right, I should be able to see a clear light through there, which I can. I should be able to push the pin in through there, which I can, and that should be in place and operating that under there, which it is. Brilliant. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the mag release, drop that in from that side, flip it over, drop the spring on. The button on this one is ambidextrous, it doesn't matter which way around it goes, but you're going to have to push down quite hard to get it to sit on the end of the actual spring guide, and then screw it in. So I can now let go of the button with my thumb and just make sure that it's nice and loose. That's what it should be there, and I can see that it's nicely releasing on this side. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the trigger pin back in, and that should just drop nicely in. I'm going to tap this back in nicely. The teeth were on this side, right hand side, so if you're right-handed, the trigger pin teeth were right there. Next thing I'll do is I'll put the pistol grip back on. Pistol grip. One of the screws is already in at this top right hand corner. Oops, daisy. So I'm going to feed the red wire in at the front, because that's where it came in at, and that's where it lines up with. The black wire comes in at the back. It's a little bit fiddly to manipulate these in. Whoa. I'm going to push that down, bring in the long screwdriver. So I went back until it clicked, so I knew it was in the threads, and tighten that down. Find the other screw is there. This is the bit that's a pain. Put that in there. Drop it in. Now with this pistol grip, some pistol grips you get 4 holes to screw in through. This one's got the 2 that it needs only, and that's it. So tighten that down. That's all good. What I'm going to do is the black wire is going to come up this side of the pistol grip. The red wire is going to drop around the hole in the bottom where the motor goes in to come up. Hopefully my phone is picking that up properly, how the red wire comes around and then up the back, so they both come up the back. I'm going to drop the motor in. Black wire seems to want to keep going over there for some reason, and what I'm looking for is that the motor goes pretty much in and out freely. The black terminal is at the back. The red wire then loops back round over and on like that, and then bring in the pistol grip base plate, manipulate that in, and it should, without any real force, go into place like that. Now don't forget these screws, the back one was the slightly longer with the pointed end on it. Try and put the back one in first if I can, just because it tends to be the better holding point. That's one. Two. That's done. Flip it over. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to bring in this base plate at the back, just checking around, make sure I've not left anything out. Doesn't appear to have done. Drop that in place. So don't forget the little indent is facing out. I've then got this little guide thing that screws in here. I assume that's to stabilise the back of the spring guide and to stop it if it does twist from coming out, which is actually quite a nice feature. I'm then going to feed the stock tube along the wiring. There's nothing glamorous about this, it's literally just pushing it, just being careful with it as well. And then I'm going to drop that into place like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the wiring out of the way and down the side like that. And we've got our gap at the bottom on this screw assembly that we need to keep as best as possible at the bottom. So I'm just going to use the wire itself to guide that. Now I can't believe this never happens when I'm doing repairs myself, but that has literally fallen in perfectly. And if I put my screwdriver in the screw and go backwards, there's the click. I'm in the threads in the back of the spring guide. There we go. And it's tight and solid. I can see it's all nicely in line. It's all good, and I can see it's still in line in there as well, which must be what that stabilising part is for. We've got safe and semi. I can still feel safe is on there. So the stock can go back on when I'm ready. The upper, punch the pin out. There's the pin. I'm going to pull the charging handle just to allow a little bit of room. Push them together. Where's the pin gone? It's still in the body. Come on, Pheas. So now I've got them together. My thumb is just pulling on the front of the magwell while my fingers are pulling the up back towards it. Push that back in, and that's it. We are done and dusted. You have disassembled and reassembled your EC-909 for repairs and disassembly. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.